Hello students, I am Sadanand Prusty from Jaipur Institute of Management, Indirapuram, Ghaziabad, and in this lecture we will be discussing about the cost output relationship in the long run. In the previous lecture we have discussed about the various short run cost concepts and why actually as a business manager you need to know about the different cost concepts. So, that already we have discussed that in the previous lecture. In today's lecture, we will be discussing about the cost output relationship in the long run. And in the long run, how we will be discussing what is long run. In the long run itself, not a single factor input is fixed. In the long run, all these factors are variable. If a business firm, you want to expand your business, if you want to start a new business, then completely you can set up another plant, you can completely you can occupy or you can purchase another piece of land, you can construct another building, you can purchase another machine. So, that all these fixed costs involved whatever we have discussed in the short run, but here itself there is no concept of the fixed cost. All these concepts are the variable cost. That means, they can change of what? They can change with respect to the change in the output. If the output you will be producing or any business manager wants to produce more and more. So, you can do that by varying both the fixed components, that means the fixed assets, as well as you can also vary the all these variable factors, that is your raw material, your labor, that can be, or advertisement cost, all these can be changing, can be varied. So, now this long run total cost curve is derived from the expansion path. And now, question is, what is an expansion path? If you have remembered that in the production producers equilibrium, that we have discussed, there are two concepts. One is the isoquant and the other one is the isocost line. Here you can see that that is I 1 is nothing but that is isoquant 1. Similarly, I 2 is nothing but isoquant 2 and isoquant 3, isoquant 4. Isoquant is nothing but the equal product curve, and equal product means on the same, like if this is an isoquant IQ, every point on this IQ you will be finding that this same level of output, which you have already discussed that. And there is also a set of budget, that means isocost line you will also be finding. Which are the isocost line? Now, isocost line is this, and isocost line again is this isocost line. That means, it is the straight line what you are you're seeing in this slide. Now, this isocost line means what is how you will define the isocost line? Just you give an example. If I am saying that this is the isocost line, if the isocost line is AB, what it implies? It implies that if there are different types, different machine hours and different labor hours is hired by a manager, then the cost involved in every point, if this is a point C, this is a point D. Now, every point will give the producer the same level of output. That means, OC is the level of output that can be produced by using OK1 units of capital and L1 units of labor, and similarly K2 units of capital and L2 units of labor that can be produced, and the production is same here. Agar if the Q is equal to 20 units, here also you will be finding that Q is equal to also 20 units. So, the output remains same. So, now in the expansion path, whatever, if any business manager they want to increase the production, then which path they have to follow it? They will follow the equilibrium path. And what is the equilibrium path? At each equilibrium path, at point A, at point B, at point C, at point D and at point E, what is happening? That is, the isoquant is tangential to the isocost line at point A, at point B, at point C, at point D, at point E. So, that is why if the producer wants to expand its production, then they have to choose this path. This is called as expansion path, okay, if it wants to expand the business. That means, the production level, if it will go on increasing, then this path it will choose. And what it is implying in this path? Now, each point at point A, at point B, at point C, at point D and at point E, it is called as the least cost combination. That means, the producer is producing the output, okay, at least cost. Least cost means, that means with minimum cost they are producing the maximum output. And this expansion path is nothing but the long run total cost curve. That is nothing but the long run total cost curve. And the long run total cost curve, what is at this point, if you will be finding it is increasing, okay, but increasing at which rate? Increasing at a decreasing rate. Why? Initially you will be finding that because of the efficiency of the machine, because of the efficiency of this labor, and the cost is becoming cost will increase, total cost is increasing, no doubt at all, but the long run average cost, which we will be discussing afterwards, you will find that long run average cost is declining. And that is what reason? The reason is that the long run average cost and the long run marginal cost, they are falling. That means, they are decreasing. It is decreasing mainly because of the, it is your long run total cost curve will increase, but at a decreasing rate, and afterwards it will increase, but at an increasing rate. Now, next you are finding, because already I have mentioned about this, what is happening is that long run average cost curve, which is derived from the long run total cost. How? Now, long run average cost is equal to, okay, long run total cost divided by the output produced. That will, you will get the long run average cost. Now, this long run average cost, which is basically you are finding here, is an envelope curve. And why it is called as an envelope curve is that it envelopes various short run cost curves. That means, short run average costs it envelopes or it encompasses. And what is happening? Every firm wants to produce their output at the minimum cost. That means, they want to attain at this point, that means at the minimum point of long run average cost and the short run average cost. But initially what has happened is that, because whenever you will start your business, or any producers, they are starting their business, okay, they might not have attained up to this point, because the efficiency of this labor, the efficiency of this machine is gradually, okay, that is more and more up to certain period of time. So, that is why you are finding that the cost is gradually, okay, it is decreasing, no doubt at all short run average cost curve, but gradually they wants to attain at this minimum point, but not it is happening in the first year, it is not also happening in the second year, but gradually it is decreasing continuously, and at a point will come when the short run average cost costs minimum point is also same as long run average cost minimum point, and that is happening at this point. And afterwards you will be finding again the cost will increase, that is because of the efficiency of the machine and the efficiency of the labor gradually declines. Now, and this is called as long run average cost curve, is also known as the planning curve, and this is also known as the envelope curve. Now, coming back to the relationship between the long run average cost and the long run marginal cost, when the long run average cost, long run marginal cost is intersecting, this is always happening, long run marginal cost intersects the long run average cost at its minimum point. This is the minimum point of long run average cost, and at this minimum point you will be finding that long run marginal cost will intersect the long run average cost at its minimum point. But before that, what is happening is that when long run average cost curve is decreasing, that time your long run marginal cost curve is also declining, but long run marginal cost curve is lying below the long run average cost curve. It is lying below the long run average cost curve. But afterwards what is happening is that after this minimum point has been reached, then you will be finding when the long run average cost curve, when the long run average cost curve is increasing, then your long run marginal cost curve will also increase, but in this case long run marginal cost curve will lie above the long run average cost. So, that you are also finding that how long run marginal cost is increasing, and that means it is higher as compared to long run average cost curve. So, that is the relationship between long run marginal cost curve and the long run average cost curve. Now, there are some of these concepts here we have to discuss, that is known as economies of scale and diseconomies of scale. Here jo economies, so economies of scale and there is diseconomies of scale. Scale stands for, it is the large size of the farm. When the farm or the business grows, okay, and it is becoming from a its operation is in very few locations. Now, you want to expand your business in the long run. So, during that time, because of your large size of this farm, then you will come across certain terms, that means how you are getting some of these advantages because of the large size of this farm, and that is called as economies of scale. That is called as economies of scale. Now, what are the things because of the economies of scale? What type of economies of scale? So, here itself you will be finding because of the large size of this farm, what is happening is, suppose you will be buying raw materials in bulk, you will be also advertisement expenditure gradually as your as your output will increase, but you are doing the advertisement once. Okay. So, your advertisement expenditure, what will happen as your output will increase, that means denominator will increase. So, your as output will increase, and output is the if the advertisement expenditure is divided by the output. So, you will be finding what now the total advertisement expenditure divided by output, you will be finding that is your average advertisement expenditure. So, in that case what you will be finding? You will find that average as output will increase and this one remains fixed. Okay. This portion remains fixed. So, what will happen? Average advertisement expenditure will be less and less. So, that is also happening when the your grow in size as output will increase. Similarly, whenever you will be buying the raw material in bulk, so obviously what you will do? You will ask for a discount and you will also get the discount. That means, the raw material price is less, you will be getting at a lower price. Similarly, if suppose you will be borrowing huge amount of this capital from the bank, then you can bargain with the bank, and in that case you will find they will also lower the rate of interest for you. So, all these things are pertaining to the economies of scale, and because of that economies of the scale, what is happening? Now, long run average cost curve is gradually decreasing, and here economies is equal to at the minimum point you are finding the economies of scale and the diseconomies of scale almost they are same, and afterwards when the long run average cost curve is increasing, that happens because of this like your diseconomies of scale. And here itself you will be finding that whatever has mentioned here, there is a downward shift. That means, what is the effect of the external economies? What is external economies? Suppose the cost is less, now you are finding LAC 1 and now the cost has been reduced, there is a shift, there is a downward shift from LAC 1 to LAC 2. So, in that case what is happening is, if the cost is drastically reduced, and this happens when a company used to have the like your technological advancement. If you are making the more and more going for more and more automation, then what is happening? If the efficiency of this machine is much higher as compared to the labor force. So, you will find that the cost of machine remains same. Now, whenever machine produces more and more, then what is happening to this average cost? So, the average cost will gradually less or it will decrease, and that is happening in the LAC, that means long run average cost curve, because of the implementation of this automation process or the technological advancement. So, that is happening that your long run average cost curve shift towards down. That means, right hand in this case you will be finding that there is a shift, it will shift below, okay. And that's happening because of this. And exactly the same thing what has been mentioned here is the internal economies of scale, that means which arise from because of the increase in the plant size, and the external economies of scale already I have mentioned that it is because of the technological advancement. Sometimes also you will be finding that if the government has given some tax rebates, so for any raw material, suppose they are getting at a very cheaper price. So, obviously, that itself is also outside and nobody expected that, and suddenly you are getting some subsidy or you are getting some tax like your concession. So, that also will be leading to the decrease, or there is a shift, a downward shift of this LAC curve we find it. And there are two types of these like your economies of scale which is happening. One is called as real economies of scale, and the other one is known as the pecuniary economies of scale. What is the difference between these two? Now, real economies of scale is always targeting what the reduction in the quantity, that means the physical quantity. In this case, if suppose you are finding that a particular farm is very big and it is very large, and in that case what will happen, these raw materials they will be buying, because there is a huge demand for your product. That is why you are very big in size, and your products whatever you will be producing, it will be sold in the market, and there will be hardly any inventory. Okay, inventory cost will be involved. In that case, if the number of output unsold items is less, so in that case neither you will keep your raw materials more in the inventory, or you will be keeping your final products in the inventory. So that is reducing your inventory cost, and that itself is pertaining to the real economies of scale. You will be purchasing also, that means in your stock you will have less of the raw materials and less of the inputs, and even if various types of the labor and the types of the machine that already, because your efficiency level have increased, and because of that you will utilize up to the maximum capacity, that means up to the optimum capacity of this machine. So in that case you will be fully utilizing the machine as well as you will be fully utilizing the labor. So in that way the quantity of this, like the units of the labor and the units of this capital, will be fully utilized, and hence the real economies of scale is operating. Otherwise, if the machine capacity is 50,000 to produce in 1 hour, but at the initially as your product is not recognized in the market and people are not purchasing that, so obviously no farm will produce that 50,000 products per hour. They used to produce at less than 50,000. So in that case what is happening, the machine is underutilized. Similarly, the labor, you have to hire the labor, you cannot retrench the labor, like immediately today you have hired the labor and tomorrow you cannot just ask him to go, but gradually when this output will increase, so obviously you will ask them to work for more number of hours and you can utilize them better. So that way what is happening, the cost, the average cost for the machine, the average cost of this labor, so that will gradually be, and inventory cost will also be less and less. So because of that the real economies of scale will happen, and that is leading to the decrease in the long run average cost. And there is another concept called as pecuniary economies of scale. In the pecuniary economies of scale, that is mainly pertaining to the price reduction. Already I have mentioned that the raw material price, whenever you will be buying in bulk or in more quantity, so obviously you will be getting that at a cheaper price or at a discounted price. Similarly, you will be getting the loan at a much by paying less rate of interest. So that way you can reduce your cost, even if your advertisement cost also you have to, that gradually that will be like your average advertisement expenditure, that will be less and less. Okay. So that is leading to your pecuniary economies of scale. And similarly, many of these like your employees also, you can hire the employees at a lower wage rate. How you will be hiring the labor at a lower wage rate? Because of your brand name, because whenever you will be growing and you are large in size and people have recognized your brand. So what is happening, that because of your reputation, most of these people, they will be joining in your company, or they will be willing to join in your company even at a lower wage rate or the lower salary you will be giving. So that way you can also reduce the average cost. So because of that the long run average cost is also reduced. Now this is the external diseconomies of scale. Because of that your long run average cost curve is showing an upward shift here because of the diseconomies of scale. And what are the external diseconomies of scale? Suppose government have increased, if the government have increased the taxation. If government have stopped this, like your subsidy given, if the maintenance cost of the machine, because the machine is suddenly there is some problem in the machine. So, in that case what will happen, that because of that your production will hamper and your cost will increase, and because of all these things what will happen, your long run average cost curve will increase. That means that is because of the external diseconomies of scale. And let me summarize what we have discussed in this particular lecture. We have first started with what is the meaning of this long run. In the long run cost, we have mentioned that all these factor inputs, they are variable, and none of these factors are fixed. So, hence there is no fixed cost we will be finding in the long run. If the business firm wants to expand the business, then that the business firm, they can do that by varying all these fixed factors as well as the variable factors. There is no restriction. In that context, we have discussed about how the long run total cost curve is derived from the expansion path, and expansion path is nothing but the path that is your least cost path. In the long run, if a particular firm wants to expand the business, then it is to choose that particular path, and that particular path is the equilibrium path for the producer. And at the equilibrium point, all of us we know that this isoquant is tangential to the isocost line, and at each point, and that itself is a least cost point, and hence the long run total cost curve is all the points in the long run total cost curve are the least cost points. Please underline the word, that is the least cost points. And initially what will happen, the long run total cost will increase, but will increase at an decreasing rate, then afterwards it will increase at an increasing rate. Then we have discussed that how this long run average cost curve is derived from the long run total cost curve, and the shape of this long run average cost is an envelope curve, or it is also known as the planning curve. And why the long run cost curve, because there is a relationship we also discussed about the long run average cost and the long run marginal cost, and that we have mentioned that long run marginal cost is always intersecting the long run average cost curve at its minimum point. And then we have discussed why the long run average cost is showing a downward trend, that means it is decreasing initially. This is mainly because of the economies of scale, and there are two types of the economies of scale. One is the real economies of scale, which is pertaining to the quantity and quantity reduction, and the other one is known as the pecuniary economies of scale, and that is happening because of the price reduction, because the raw materials you can buy in bulk and get the discount, and also your advertisement expenditure will be less and less, and also the loan, the rate of interest you will also get at a lower rate of interest. So, because of that you will be finding there is an decrease in the long run average cost. And also we have discussed why there is a shift in the long run average cost curve, that is mainly because of these external factors and external diseconomies or external economies. In the external economies, we have mentioned about the technological advancement which is happening, and because of that your long run average cost is shifting down. And similarly, we have also mentioned about the long run average cost curve is showing a upward shift, and that is mainly because of this external diseconomies and of the scale. Thank you so much.